At first glance, they look like scenes from a science fiction film or digital artwork created by artificial intelligence. But these scenes are not computer-generated, not man-made, and not optical illusions either. From mountains with rainbow colors to seas that glow at night. In this video, we will explore some of the most extraordinary and colorful creations of nature in our world. But before we start the discussion, I would like to ask you for a like and please subscribe to our channel. This is a huge help for us content creators. So let's get started. The rainbow eucalyptus. It's not common to see a tree that has more than one or two colors on its trunk. But in some tropical forests, there's a species of tree that looks like a natural rainbow growing in the middle of the forest. This is the rainbow eucalyptus. It can be found in the tropical forests of Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and other nearby regions. At first glance, it looks like a painter decided to use the entire trunk of the tree as a canvas. You can see a combination of bright green, blue, violet, orange, red, and brown on its trunk. All these colors are laid out together on a single tree, but there is no paint here. The secret lies in the bark of the tree itself. As the rainbow eucalyptus grows, its thin outer bark gradually peels off in different parts of its trunk. When the inner layer is newly exposed, it appears green because of the chlorophyll still present in the fresh bark. Over time, as it is exposed to air, rain, and sunlight, the chemical composition of the bark changes. The color gradually shifts from green to blue, then to violet, orange, red, and eventually turns brown before peeling off again. Because this process doesn't happen at the same time throughout the entire tree, you can see different stages of change at any given moment. The result is a natural mosaic of colors that seems impossible for a single tree. Another reason why this is special is that no two rainbow eucalyptus trees are exactly the same. Even the same tree changes its appearance as the months go by because its bark keeps shedding. Because of its unique appearance, this species has also been planted in various tropical and subtropical places like Hawaii, some parts of Florida, and other warm regions around the world as an ornamental tree. And whenever someone sees it for the first time, the reaction is often the same. It looks man-made. But the truth is, it's one of the most colorful works of art by nature, the sand beach. Usually the sand we see on beaches is white, black, or sometimes gold in color. But in a remote part of the Big Island of Hawaii, there's a shore that looks like it's sprinkled with crushed emerald. This is Papakulea Beach. It's one of the few green sand beaches known worldwide. Its unique color is directly related to the volcano. Thousands of years ago, there was volcanic activity in that area, and a cinder cone was formed. Inside the rocks ejected by the volcano, there is a high concentration of a mineral called olivine. Olivine is naturally green in color and is usually formed in magma underground. Over time, the volcanic rocks were slowly broken down by wind, rain, and erosion. As these break apart, tiny olivine crystals are released. This is where the role of the ocean comes in. With every wave of the sea, many light particles are carried away. But the olivine crystals are tougher and heavier compared to other materials around them. Because of this, they accumulate on the shore while other components gradually disappear. The result is a beach with a distinct green color. When the sand is wet, it sparkles even more and looks like fine gems scattered by the sea. When it's dry, the color becomes more subtle, but its greenness remains noticeable. Getting here is not easy either. Most of the time, you have to walk a long way under the scorching sun and pass through rough volcanic landscapes before you reach the actual shore. But for many visitors, that's part of the experience. Because with every step towards Papakulea, it feels like you're traveling to a place that resembles another planet more than an ordinary beach destination. True blue. For most plants and animals, there's almost no natural blue pigment found in their bodies. This means that many organisms look blue, but their actual chemical color isn't really blue. What we see is an optical illusion created by physics. One of the best examples of this is the morpho butterfly. When light hits its wings, they seem to shimmer with a very bright blue. But under a microscope, you'll see that the color doesn't come from pigment, but from tiny structures on the surface of the wing. These microscopic structures are arranged in such a way that they reflect the blue part of the light, while other colors are lost or arranged differently. The same principle applies to many bluebirds. For example, the blue jay doesn't have blue pigment in its feathers. The special arrangement of the microscopic layers in the feathers is the reason why our eyes see them as blue. Even the blue eyes of humans don't use blue pigment. The color is also a result of the way light scatters and reflects inside the eye. In plants, there are indeed flowers that appear blue. However, most of the time, they don't use a true blue pigment. Instead, they alter the chemical properties of pigments that are usually red or purple to make them appear more blue to our eyes. So when you see a bright blue animal or flower, there's a big chance that the material itself isn't actually blue. What you're seeing is a very clever use of light, and maybe that's one of the most fascinating facts about nature. Sometimes the most beautiful colors aren't made by chemicals, they're made by physics. Pink lakes. You can find this on Middle Island, a small island with almost no permanent residents off the coast of Western Australia. The very first thing you'll notice here is the extraordinary color of the water. It's not a pale red or just slightly pink. The entire lake has a bright and almost unbelievable pink color that can be seen even from the air. The view is even more striking because it is surrounded by a dense eucalyptus forest. Between the lake and the ocean, there is a thin strip of white sand. Because of this, the colors red, green, white, and blue all come together in one place. This lake has been known for a long time. As early as the early 19th century, this was already recorded by European explorers, and for more than 2 centuries, its unique color has remained. What's even more surprising is that the color doesn't disappear even when the water is placed in a container. This means it's not simply an effect of light or reflection. According to studies, the color most likely comes from a combination of microorganisms that live in the extremely high salinity of the lake. This includes certain types of algae and microorganisms that produce pigments to survive in extreme conditions. There are also many salt lakes in different parts of the world that sometimes turn pink, but usually it's only seasonal. At Lake Hillier, the unusual condition appears permanent. Up to now, scientists are still studying why this process is so stable compared to other similar lakes. And perhaps that's the reason why it remains one of the most amazing natural wonders in Australia, the Rainbow Mountains. From afar, you can see overlapping streaks of red, orange, yellow, green, and even blue that seem to flow across the hills. This is the Rainbow Mountains of Gansu Province. At first glance, it's hard to believe the colors are real. It looks like a digital artwork or a scene created with computer graphics. But what you see there is the result of geological processes that took place over millions of years. In ancient times, this region was covered by rivers, lakes, and vast plains where sand, mud, and other sediments continuously accumulated. Over a very long period of time, thick layers of rock were formed. Each layer has a different mineral and chemical composition. Later on, due to the movement of tectonic plates, these rocks rose from beneath the ground. This was followed by millions of years of rain, wind, and erosion that gradually shaped the landscape we see today. Each color has its own origin. The bright red usually comes from iron oxide or rust. The yellow comes from other minerals rich in iron compounds. Meanwhile, the green and other colors are the result of various chemical deposits that formed under different environmental conditions in ancient times. In other words, each layer of color is like a page of Earth's history stacked on top of each other. Today, millions of tourists visit here to see in person the scenery that is often mistaken for edited photos on the internet. But when you stand on the observation deck and see the waves of color stretching as far as the eye can see, you'll quickly understand why this is one of the most amazing geological formations in the world. Bismuth crystal. In its usual form, it doesn't have any special appearance. It's just a silver-colored metal that can easily be mistaken for many other elements. But when it's melted and cooled in the right way, an extraordinary process begins to happen. As the crystal forms, its edges grow faster than the center. Because of this, it develops successive layers that look like steps going upward. The result is geometric shapes that seem to be made by an architect, not a craftsman, and above all, colors that are almost impossible for a metal. Here, you can see blue, violet, red, green, gold, and silver all shimmering together on the surface of the crystal. But in reality, there isn't any actual color attached to the metal. What we see is the effect of an extremely thin layer of oxide that forms when bismuth comes into contact with oxygen. When light hits this thin layer, interference occurs at different wavelengths of light. The result is a natural rainbow effect that changes depending on the thickness of the oxide layer. So even if it's the same element, no two crystals have exactly the same combination of colors. Another reason why bismuth is popular among hobbyists and collectors is because it has a relatively low melting point compared to many metals. Because of this, it's possible to turn it into crystals under controlled conditions without needing complicated laboratory equipment. Out of the millions of elements, rocks, and minerals found in our world, it's surprising to think that one of the most colorful comes from a metal that at first glance looks completely ordinary. And perhaps that's one of the most fascinating facts about nature. Often, the most ordinary things hide the world's most amazing surprises. Alexandrite. In the world of gemstones, few have a reputation as special as this one. Because while the stone itself remains the same, its color seems to change depending on the type of light that shines on it. When it's under natural daylight or cool white light, you can often see its deep green color, which resembles an emerald. But when it's placed under warmer lights, like a candle or light with more red wavelengths, it gradually turns into a vivid red, like a ruby. For those seeing it for the first time, it seems like they're looking at a completely different stone. The secret lies in the microscopic structure of the crystal. Alexandrite contains a small amount of chromium, an element also responsible for the color of some well-known gemstones. Because of its unique way of absorbing light, our eyes see different colors depending on the dominant wavelength in the surroundings. The stone doesn't change, it's the light that changes. And Alexandrite is one of the few minerals that can clearly show this change. This gemstone was first discovered in the Ural Mountains of Russia in the 19th century. Because of its unique characteristic, it quickly became one of the most sought-after gems in the world. Today, there are also deposits in Brazil, Sri Lanka, and some parts of East Africa. But even with other sources, high-quality Alexandrite remains extremely rare. In fact, many experts say that it is harder to find world-class Alexandrite than some types of Alexandrite, precious diamonds and emeralds, and perhaps that's why until now, it remains one of the most admired creations of geology. A stone that doesn't change its shape but can change its color right before your eyes. Bioluminescent bays. In places like Puerto Rico, Jamaica, the Maldives, and other tropical coasts, there are times when the sea glows with every movement of the water. When someone swims, there's a trail of light. When a fish passes by, it's like it leaves a sparkling line under the sea. Even simply dropping a stone into the water can cause a temporary burst of blue light. The ones responsible for this are microscopic organisms called dinoflagellates. Each one of them is so small, they're not easily seen by the naked eye. But when billions of them gather in one place, they can change the entire appearance of the ocean. When they're disturbed by waves, fish, boats, or even just the movement of a human hand, a chemical reaction happens inside their bodies. In this process, they produce short bursts of light. A single organism is almost impossible to notice. But when millions light up at the same time, the whole sea looks like it's sparkling. One of the most famous places to see this is Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico, which is recognized as one of the brightest bioluminescent bays in the world. Because of the right combination of temperature, water, salinity, nutrients, and a protected environment, the conditions become perfect for these organisms to thrive. But Puerto Rico is not the only place with this kind of sight. There are also coastlines in Jamaica, the Maldives, Vietnam, and even in some parts of Australia where the same phenomenon appears at different times of the year. For those who see it in person, it's often hard to describe. It's like stars have fallen into the sea. It's as if the water itself has its own light. And what's even more amazing is that this process has been happening long before there were humans to witness it. For millions of years, the ocean has been quietly glowing in the darkness of the night. And even today, it remains one of the most surreal sights that nature can create. The Danakil Depression is located in the northern part of Ethiopia, near the border of Eritrea and Djibouti. It is also one of the lowest places in Africa and is among the hottest regions in the world. But it is not the heat that made it famous. The real reason is the extraordinary combination of geology, volcanic activity, and chemical processes that occur simultaneously in one place. Beneath this region, the Earth's tectonic plates are constantly moving. As they slowly separate, heat and magma rise from deep within the Earth. Because of this, hydrothermal fields are formed where extremely hot water mixed with various minerals rises to the surface. When the water cools and begins to emerge, chemical deposits are left on the ground, and this is where the unusual colors start to appear. The bright yellow usually comes from sulfur. The orange and reddish areas come from iron compounds. Meanwhile, the white areas are made up of salt deposits and other minerals. When all of these come together in one place, the whole environment looks as if it has been painted with colors that are rarely seen in nature. One of the most famous parts of the region is the Dalal hydrothermal area. Here you can find some of the most colorful geothermal formations on Earth. And there are mineral structures that resemble things you would expect to see on another planet rather than on Earth. There are mineral formations that are slowly being destroyed while new ones are forming. Travelers have to face extreme heat. At certain times of the year, temperatures can reach over 50 degrees Celsius during the day. Add to that the remote location and harsh environmental conditions. And perhaps that's the reason why many consider the Danakil Depression as one of the most unique and colorful natural landscapes that exist on our planet. A place that has been continuously shaped by nature for millions of years, silent, intense, and almost unbelievable. In our vast world, there are still places and phenomena that seem like products of imagination, even though they truly exist. So the next time you see a picture that looks too beautiful to be real, don't immediately think it's edited or computer generated. Because if there's one thing that nature keeps proving, it's this. Sometimes reality is even more amazing than anything humans can create.